In September 2017, I had the chance to meet a speaker and author I've admired since I was a teenager. Having read many of Dr. John Maxwell's 67 best-selling books, I was excited to see what the legendary man would be like in person. Now, speaking to John backstage at a conference where we were both presenting, I was struck by something he said that has many times been repeated in his various books. His quote was this: "Credibility is a leader's currency. With it, he or she is solvent. Without it, he or she is bankrupt." And John is so right. Credibility is vitally important in an age where our customers and clients tend to be more skeptical and discerning than ever. In this short video, we're going to explore the powerful role of credibility in building trust and examine the three key elements of being perceived as credible. They are authenticity, are you real? Veracity, are you honest or reliable? And the third element is transparency. Are your values visible? So let's look at the first key to building credibility, that of authenticity. A neuroscientist and author of The Trust Factor, a guy named Paul Zak, has spent years studying what builds rapport and intuitive trust between individuals. And he's come up with some very interesting, remarkable, yet very simple findings. According to Zak, the most important element of gaining trust or regaining trust is to dial up our humanness, to be real. Appearing to be real, vulnerable, and even fallible results in the release of the chemical oxytocin in the brains of others we're interacting with. Now, this is the neuromechanism humans have unconsciously used for centuries to determine who was safe enough to trust and work with and who wasn't. This is an important revelation for every leader, professional, or brand. For years, we've worked hard to project sanitized and corporatized versions of ourselves. Spin doctors and corporate communications departments have tended to carefully craft every message delivered externally and internally within an organization in order to ensure our communication is predictable, reliable, and on brand. Now, we've all seen the robotic corporate or civic leader in public forums speaking in sanitized sound bites. Now, while the words they're delivering might sound great in press releases, they come across as wooden, insincere, and trust eroding from the podium. This principle extends to every form and every function of communication today. For instance, it was once standard practice to write your LinkedIn profile in the third person. We'd often referred to our achievements, our experience, and our role description as if we were writing the bio paragraph of like an article in The Economist. According to social media branding strategist Kieran Zerner, author of How to Stand Out Without Selling Out, this approach simply no longer resonates with the marketplace. Today, profile pages on your social platforms and your posts that you produce, they've got to be conversational, they've got to be sincere, but most of all, they've got to be authentic. Our clients, our consumers, and the marketplace at large have a finely tuned BS meter. You can probably guess what that stands for. If you don't know, the B stands for bull. They can sniff insincerity a mile away, so we must work hard to dial up our authenticity and our humanness if we're going to be seen as credible. And the second key for building credibility is veracity. Are you honest? Are you reliable? According to the legendary business leader Jack Welch, one of the most important elements today for being an effective leader is what he calls candor. The trait characterized by raw honesty. As Welch puts it, leaders with candor give their promises carefully. They always keep them. They always tell the truth, and they expect others around them to do the same. Now, while Jack Welch is referring to the traits necessary to win the trust of those you are leading within an organization, the same principle stands true for building external trust as well. As children, we all learned that honesty is the best policy, but as adults, we too easily forget this. We may live in the age of alternate facts and fake news, but consumers still recognize half-truths when they see them and when they hear them. Truthfulness is the foundation of trust. Without honesty and sincerity, there is no hope of being seen as reliable, dependable, but most of all, credible. That said, simply being honest today is not enough to build credibility necessary for trust in an age of online influence. The marketplace today is also looking for social proof of your reliability. In this regard, review sites and social media commentary is more important than ever. Research indicates that 82% of consumers will check reviews before placing their trust or their purchase with a business. They want to know if you're true to your word, as evidenced by the experience of others. Now, for this reason, it is critical that brands and individuals pay close attention to what is being said about them online. Now, many of my clients have found tools like BuzzHandle or Mention.com really useful to this effect. Now, trust takes time to build, and pursuing the path of honesty, reliability, integrity is often costly, but it is always necessary. Now, while your honesty may be tested, your integrity challenged from time to time, remember the words of celebrated American author and columnist Ann Landers. She said, "People of integrity expect to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right." Now, the third and final key to building credibility is transparency, this sense of, are your values visible? Now, while operating with values and a sense of social responsibility is innately important, credibility in the eyes of today's customer is only achieved when these things are clearly evident and verifiable. Now, brands like Konica Minolta, Patagonia, Nike, Levi Strauss, they've all worked hard to earn the trust of customers by being transparent around their supply chain practices. Others like BHP Billiton, Repsol, Lush, and Vodafone have openly disclosed their corporate tax policies, their practices, their payments. Then there are businesses like Salesforce, Buffer, or Pepsi that have made public commitments to achieving things like pay and gender equality. In each of these cases, deliberate steps have been taken to make sure the implicit values of a brand are made explicit. Now, this doesn't mean blowing your own trumpet in a boastful way, but it does mean ensuring that there is congruence between what you value and what you do. It means walking your talk and doing so in a deliberate, upfront, and transparent way. So, what steps do you need to take to emphasize sincerity, vulnerability, your humanness on a day-to-day basis? How could you increase the visibility of your values through greater disclosure and greater transparency? In order to gain or regain the trust of the marketplace today, your motivations need to be in the right place. You need to be integrous, reliable, dependable. Credibility, however, is only achieved when these motivations and the actions they result in are communicated clearly, authentically, openly, and honestly. Now, if you needed any further encouragement to pursue the path of honesty, consider the words of Mark Twain. He said, "If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything." Now, how right he is. Being honest will always prove to be simpler and more stress-free than the alternative.